La cultura de México es muy interesante para mí. Los tipos de cultura pintan una pintura muy única por el país. Mexico's full name is the United Mexican States. According to the UN survey of 2012, Mexico's population numbers 116 million. The capital is located in the center of the country and is called Mexico City. Mexico's area takes up 1.96 million square kilometers, or 758,449 square miles. Its official language is Spanish, but there are a large number of other languages spoken there. The most popular religion in Mexico is Christianity. The life expectancy is 75 years for men and 80 years for women, according to the UN. Mexico's monetary unit is 1 peso, which equals 100 centavos. Main exports from Mexico include machinery and transport equipment, mineral fuels and lubricants, and food and live animals. Mexico's GNI per capita numbers $9,940 according to the World Bank in 2013. La geología de México es muy variado porque México es un país muy grande. Para mí, la geología es muy interesante y muy hermosa. Mexico is in North America and borders the Caribbean Sea as well as the Gulf of Mexico. It lies between the borders of Belize and Guatemala to the south and the United States to the north. Mexico also touches the Pacific Ocean on its west border. Mexico's total area takes up 1,964,375 square kilometers, making it the 14th largest country in the world. For comparison, this is roughly 3 times the size of Texas. Mexico's total territorial boundaries are 4,353 kilometers long. Mexico also has 9,330 kilometers of coastline. Because Mexico is so large, the climate varies from tropical near the seas to desert further inland. The terrain is cited as having high rugged mountains, low coastal plains, high plateaus, and desert areas. Mexico's lowest point lies at Laguna Salada, which is 10 meters high, and its highest point lies on Volcan Pico de Orizaba, which is 5,700 meters high. Natural resources in Mexico include petroleum, silver, copper, gold, lead, zinc, natural gas, and timber. In 2011, Mexico was recorded as having 12.98% arable land, with 64,400 square kilometers of irrigated land. Natural hazards in Mexico include tsunamis along the Pacific coast, volcanoes and destructive earthquakes in the center and south, and hurricanes on the Pacific, Gulf of Mexico, and Caribbean coasts. Volcanic activity exists mostly in the central part of the country, although most of them are dormant. Colima, which erupted in 2010, is Mexico's most active volcano and causes periodic evacuations of villagers in the area. There are many environmental issues that have plagued Mexico in the past few decades. Some notable ones are scarcity of hazardous waste disposal facilities, rural to urban migration, natural freshwater resources scarce and polluted in the south, inaccessible and poor quality in the center and extreme southeast, raw sewage and industrial effluents polluting rivers and urban areas, deforestation, widespread erosion, desertification, deteriorating agricultural lands, serious air and water pollution in the national capital and urban centers along the U.S.-Mexico border, and land subsidence in the Valley of Mexico caused by groundwater depletion. La gente de México son muy diversas. Muchas cosas como la lengua y la identidad étnica varían mucho en México. Mexico's population consists of 60% mestizo, which is a combination of Amerindian and Spanish, 30% Amerindian or predominantly Amerindian, 9% white, and 1% other. 92% of their population speaks Spanish only, 5.7% speak Spanish as well as indigenous languages, 0.8% speak only indigenous languages, and 0.8% remain unspecified. Indigenous languages include Mayan, Nahuatl, and other regional languages as of 2005. 82.7% of Mexico is Roman Catholic. 1.6% is Pentecostal, 1.7% is Jehovah's Witnesses, and other evangelical churches make up 5%. 1.9% of Mexican religion falls into the other category, 4.7% falls into the none category, and 2.7% of people remain unspecified about their religion. As of July 2014, Mexico's population numbered 120,286,655, making it the 12th most populous country in the world. The median age in Mexico is 27.3 years old. Their population is growing at a rate of 1.21% each year. 78.1% of the Mexican population lives in urban areas. Major cities include Mexico City with 20.446 million, Guadalajara with 4.525 million, Monterrey with 4.21 million, Puebla with 2.335 million, Tijuana with 1.82 million, and Toluca de Lerdo with 1.748 million as of 2011. The mother's mean age at first birth in Mexico is 21.3 years, which is relatively low compared to other first world countries. Life expectancy in Mexico is 75.43 years. 32.1% of Mexico is obese, which is 23rd highest in the world. The school life expectancy for Mexico, or the number of years children are in primary to tertiary schooling, is 13 years. 9.4 of Mexicans are unemployed. La historia de la gobierno y economía de México es muy interesante para mí, porque México es cerca de los Estados Unidos. Son muchas similitudes en los dos. Mexico's politics have been dominated for 70 years by the Institutional Revolutionary Party, or PRI. But, as recently as 1997, elections saw a resurgent opposition break in what was in effect a one-party system behind a democratic facade. Elections in 2000 confirmed the trend when Vicente Fox became the first president to come from the right-wing opposition PAN. Mexico has the second largest economy in Latin America and is a major oil exporter. Though production has fallen in the last few years, about one-third of government revenue still comes from the oil industry. Much of their crude oil is bought by the United States. Pictured is revolutionary leader Emiliano Zapata, portrayed at the entrance to a base used by rebels who take his name, who is still revered in Mexico to this day. But prosperity remains a dream for many Mexicans, and the socio-economic gap remains wide. Rural areas are often neglected and huge shanty towns ring the cities. In recent decades, many poor Mexicans have sought to cross the 3,000-kilometer border into the U.S. in search of a job. At one point, more than 1 million were being arrested for doing so each year. But, since 2007, there appears to have been a dramatic fall in numbers, mainly attributed to changing demographics in Mexico and the economic downturn in the U.S. after 2008. As a result, there has also been a fall in the amount of money sent home by migrant workers in the U.S., which provided a useful boost for Mexico's economy in the previous decade. Mexico was hit just as hard as the United States in the 2008 economic slump, with its economy reaching its lowest state in 70 years. However, through the help of foreign companies pouring billions of dollars of fresh investment into the country, its economy has recovered greatly since then. Violent crime is still a huge epidemic in Mexico, and Mexico has one of the highest rates of kidnapping in the world, and tens of thousands have been killed in drug-related gang violence since December of 2006. Drug cartels control the business of shipping drugs from South America into the United States, a business that is worth an estimated $13 billion a year. The worst of the violence lies in Mexico's most northern border towns. Ciudad Juarez, which is just across from El Paso in Texas, is the city suffering the most. There are also high levels of violence in all of the Michoacán and Guerrero states. Even so, Mexico is a large country, and there are still many areas which do not experience high levels of serious crime. The overall murder rate is lower than several other countries in the region, including El Salvador and Honduras. En conclusión, México es un país muy hermoso, con historia hermosa también. Okay, so it was never my intention to bore y'all with a 10-plus minute video, but there's just no way I'm going to get all the sections I wanted to in while staying under the time limit. So I'm going to do a quick conclusion to answer some of the questions in the quiz that were in the original sections that I have to leave out. The United States of Mexico contains 31 states. Mexico was also once inhabited by an ancient people called the Aztecs, who invented the earliest forms of hot cocoa and chocolate. And, just as soccer or football is the most popular sport in Mexico, their most supported team is the men's national soccer team.